Hello, and welcome to Scratch Paper, a writing-related podcast. I'm Alicia de los Reyes, and this is episode 26. So it's been a while since I've podcasted, so as usual, I'm going to give you guys a writing and reading update about what I've been doing, and then I'm going to do a lesson, and this week's lesson, I'll be answering a question that my friend Rebecca asked me a while ago, and I didn't really give a very good answer to, which is, how do you split up your time between journaling or personal writing and like writing. So let me first let you guys know what I'm reading and writing. Right now I'm reading an Eleanor Lippman book. I've been a big fan of hers for like the past year or two, and she has a new book out called 10 Turpentine Lane, I believe. And it's pretty good so far. Eleanor Lippman always writes these like witty characters who have problems that are never like that calamitous, like, you know, people lose their jobs and stuff, but nobody dies, or if they do die, it's under like funny or like only very old people die. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that they're not particularly heavy, and this one is just like many of the others I've read by her, a fun romp. I also recently read in one day, which is really amazing for me. Who thought this was a good idea? It's a memoir, a political memoir by Alyssa Mostramonaco. I will link to it in the show notes, along with all the other things that I mentioned. And it's about this woman who became the director for scheduling in advance, which is like prioritizing and figuring out the president's schedule and meetings, all these very important things. So she was that under Obama, and she was really young when she got that big role, like 32. So I read it in like one day. I couldn't put it down. I read it in actually one day, not like one day. I stayed up late to read it, which I never ever do anymore, now that sleep is such a precious commodity. But yeah, it was really, really good and really easy to read. As far as writing, I finished revising my draft of my manuscript, which is called Wait, and it's a novel about a woman named Leah who's a psychic, and she's helping out an evangelical family whose foster daughter has stopped talking. I feel like I've said that a million times, so I'm really sorry if you are sick of hearing that one sentence summary. I think I'm really proud of myself for having finally come up with a story that has a pithy one sentence summary. And the little girl who has stopped talking, her name is Louisa. So we'll see if that was a bad choice or not, making their names Leah and Louisa. But right now I have sent it off to my agent, and so hopefully she will read it and let me know what she thinks, and I will keep you posted. So now I'm kind of in limbo. I'm not working on any major writing projects. I don't have any big ideas for more manuscripts, and it's really kind of nice. I have been working on more sort of marketing related things. So if you're listening to this podcast in the week of October 10th, 2017, then you can get my ebooks for free. So I decided to run a promotion because 10/10, today is my birthday and I'm 31. So I thought I'd celebrate by giving away my ebooks, which are available on Amazon. They're called the DIY Writing Series. There's two of them. One is called DIY Chicklet, and it is a guide to writing a novel and a chicklet novel, but you could use it to write many other kinds of novels too. It's got a lot of writing exercises and fun questions to help you think about character and plot, and to help you plan and write your book. And I have another one called DIY Writing Retreat, which is a shorter, compact guide to getting away by yourself, and it has schedules and even like recipes and instructions for doing crafts in the evening so you can unwind, like how to make a God's eye like you're at camp. So yeah, usually they're $4.99 on Amazon, but right now, for this week only, through Saturday, 10/14, they are free. If you're listening to this in the future and you would like to find out when my books are free again, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website, and I will put a link to that in the show notes, which you can find on aliciadelosreyes.com. Okay. So, thanks for listening to that short pitch. Now here is a plug, not pitch. Here is today's lesson. So I said I mentioned in the beginning that my friend Rebecca asked me, how do you split your time between journaling or personal writing and writing, meaning like writing that you intend other people to read. And I feel like I didn't give her a very good answer because when she asked me, which is maybe like a year or two ago now, I didn't really journal. And I hadn't in a really long time. So I wasn't really sure what to tell her because I was like, well, I just spend all my time that I have for writing, doing writing that I intend other people to read. But since then, for about the past 6 weeks, I have been keeping a journal, and I started doing it rather randomly. I just went and flipped back through it this morning, and it doesn't look like there's any real beginning to it. I'm trying to remember like what even sparked it. I think I just wanted to do some reflective writing because I was feeling stuck about something. So, since for about 6 weeks now, I've kept a journal almost every day. And what I do is I write first thing in the morning, usually like as my little kiddo is waking up. And so I try to write 3 pages, which are not like 3 8x12 pages. They're like 3 diary, 6x9 pages. So 3 little pages. But a lot of times I don't get that far, maybe just 1 page. I just free write. I don't think about what I'm writing. Sometimes I have a question like, what does my intuition want me to know? Or sometimes I have like a random statement like, it's my birthday, and then I just kind of write after that. But I don't write with any aim in mind. I don't like really think about the question once I write it down. My goal is really to just kind of like get everything out on the page. So I have really enjoyed doing this, and now I think I have a little bit of a better handle on dividing up journaling time versus writing time. Because I've started to set aside a bit of my actual writing time for journaling, because if I don't get to journal in the morning, then I will sometimes do it right before I get down to work writing to kind of like clear my head. So to answer this question of splitting up your time between journaling and writing time, I think it kind of depends on what the type of writing is that you're doing. So I found that I just journal a little bit. Like I write those 3 little pages and then I kind of let it go. Because right now my writing is not like directly personal. I'm not writing anything memoir-ish at all, or even a personal essay. But I've written those things before, and so I think that journaling can work in a different way for those things. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But if you're like me and you're not working on something particularly personal right now, then I think you can use journaling as a tool to clear your head and help you focus on what it is that you are working on. So like I said, I often use it to kind of clear my head, because even if I'm not having a bad day or, nothing is really going on, it still kind of helps to have this little ritual of writing the 3 pages, because then I get to like get on with the real writing. I get out all the like little annoyances or things that have happened, things that have been bugging me, or things that I'm just like have in my head, like that I'll have to do later. I write those all down in my journal, and then I cannot think about them for a little while I'm writing. So I've used it in that way as a tool to clear my head. I've also used it when I took a day-long like mini writing retreat. I got a whole day to write thanks to my kind husband and kiddo. And I journaled at the beginning and at the end of the day. And I think it was really helpful as a ritual to like begin and end my writing time. So it like provided, in the same way that kind of clearing your head provides like a clear start time for your writing, it can also provide a clear end time for your writing. Like, especially if you're doing a big writing, a long writing period, or like a whole day of writing like I was doing. And I found it really helpful to reflect on all that I accomplished. And actually it was really helpful in helping me figure out like my feelings about writing. Not to sound too cheesy, but in the beginning I wrote, man, I'm really afraid that I'm not going to get everything done, because I really wanted to. I was still revising Wait. I was like, I really wanted to revise the whole thing, and I just knew there's no way I could revise like all of it because I had a whole lot left. So then I wrote that all down in my journal at the beginning. And then during the day, I wrote. And at the end, I journaled and I felt really good. And I realized that I wasn't really afraid of not finishing, because I knew that there was no way I would finish in a day. I was afraid of not being happy with the amount that I accomplished. And so maybe that's too subtle of a difference to explain on a podcast, but it made me feel a lot better, because I realized that I can feel good about my work even if I don't achieve like the high goals that I want to achieve, right? Like I can still feel good with the amount that I've accomplished. And I knew that because I did feel good. And I don't think I would have noticed that if I hadn't like written it down. If I hadn't written down like, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling really good. I just spent the whole day writing. I got a lot done. I didn't get to the end, but now the end is in sight and I'm happy with my progress. So that was a really positive experience with journaling, where I think it really added to my writing experience, helped me feel more settled about the work that I was doing, even though it wasn't related to my journaling at all. And so I think that journaling has been a good tool for me that way, and can be a good tool for you if you're doing something, even if it's not totally personal writing. And another way, just to close out this section on not personal writing, another way that I've used journaling is as a tool for when I felt like, I guess this is a lot like what I did on my writing retreat, but when I felt like stuck or worried about writing, like just, as I'm getting ready to write, or when I'm thinking about when I'll get to write next, and just taking a minute to sit down and write, okay, like what is actually stressing me out right now? Why am I worried about this? At another point when I was working on weight, I was getting really stressed out and annoyed with how my writing was going. I felt like I couldn't do it, like it wasn't turning out the way I wanted it to, and that it was just getting worse and worse. And I did a little bit of journaling in this book called The 12 Secrets of Highly Creative Women, a journal that has like prompts. And I just flipped through until I came to a question that I like, which was, where are you in the life cycle of your writing? And so I answered that one, and I realized that I was coming up on the end of my revision, like getting very close to the end. It was in like a matter of days that it might be done. And I think I was getting scared. I was worried about not being able to, that it wouldn't in the end turn out as good as I wanted it to. But journaling helped me realize that I should just keep writing and finish it and, fix it up more later if I have to. So, journaling can be a useful tool, even if you're not writing like a memoir or a personal essay. On the other hand, if you are writing a memoir or a personal essay, I think sometimes your journal can be almost a rough draft. So one way I would suggest to use this is to I have two kind of main ways to do it. So one is to just free write and allow yourself the freedom to journal for like as maybe half your writing time. So if you have like an hour to write on this particular day, you could write for 30 minutes, just totally free write, random journal about the topic that you are planning to write your essay or your memoir about, or about anything if you have no idea. And then maybe take a break, and then for the last like 25 or 20 minutes or whatever you have, read through it and either pick out the parts that you like and write a new essay based on those. Or if you like more of it, you could try, restructuring it and organizing it, rearranging it, and making it into an essay. So I think that the key is to really let yourself treat it like a journal in the beginning, and to free write exactly whatever comes into your mind as you're free writing, and to not think of it as an essay at first. Because I think that you can uncover more things that way. This is kind of like a wild mind idea by the woman who wrote Writing Down the Bones, whose name I'm blanking on now. But yeah, it's kind of a Zen approach to writing. But I think that in personal writing, it can be really useful to just sort of free write and let yourself go. Another way that you can use journaling or free writing, I guess this is more free writing, not quite journaling, to organize a personal essay or a memoir is to, this is a suggestion that my professor Meredith Hall gave me, to make a list of scenes that are related to the topic that you're writing about. So let's say you're writing about relationships. You could just write relationships at the top of a piece of paper and leave it by your computer or by your desk or like at your kitchen counter, wherever you are often. And then as they come to you, write down scenes or moments or people who come up in your mind for like related to this idea of relationships. So relationships is obviously a huge topic. So maybe it's something smaller like why relationships fail or how they don't fail or something else like a particular relationship. So this is more of like a wool gathering type of free writing where you're just kind of letting your mind wander around, and you don't even have to do it in one day. I remember my professor telling me to just like leave it there for like a week or 2 weeks and see what else comes up. And I found it really helpful when I was writing personal essays about things like relationships or like kind of autobiographical essays, because kind of thinking through these scenes and thinking back over them over and over again led to connections to other moments that I wouldn't have thought of on the first try. So that's another way that journaling or free writing can kind of help you gather ideas. And then I sat down and wrote out the scenes in more detail and rearranged them and spent time writing them that way. So those are the two kind of veins, I would say, that you can use journaling and writing. As a concrete takeaway, if you're having trouble separating the two and you really like journaling and you really like writing, then I would say just try timing it. And you can try, for me, a good balance would be like journaling for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then, or maybe even less, maybe even like 5 or 10 minutes, and then writing for like 25 minutes. That's what I usually do, is write for 25 minutes and then take a break. And see if that like helps you write more or journal more or feel good afterwards. And then you can adjust it, like if maybe you like journaling for half of it and writing for the other half, or maybe you like journaling for most of it and then just writing a little bit at the end. So I would say try it. And I would recommend also using a timer, because along with like the ritual of journaling, the ritual of a timer really helps me to feel like I am writing and getting something done. Because I can see that time has passed and I have put words on a page. So thank you so much for listening. I'm really glad to be podcasting again. I hope you will subscribe or check out the show notes on aliciadelosreyes.com. You can subscribe on Stitcher or iTunes. That's what I was trying to say. Please subscribe on Stitcher or iTunes and let me know what you think. You can comment in the show notes. The show notes are at aliciadelosreyes.com, ALICIADELOSREYES.com. And you'll find links and everything that I mentioned there. And you'll also find a link to my ebooks on Amazon, which are, as I mentioned before, free this week through Saturday. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to be back next week.